You're listening to Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at SBT Songs, or check us out at chrisblair.com. This week, I have got the amazing, talented Big and Rich with us on the podcast. I'm so excited to dive into this one. We're going to talk about how John Rich and Big Kenny got to Nashville, how they met, and Music Mafia days. Coming out with their first album, we're going to dive into the stories behind songs like Save a Horse Ride, a Cowboy, Hicktown that they wrote for Jason Aldean, and many others. We're going to talk about some great advice for everybody out there in the industry and just some awesome stories behind the songs. Let's get to it. I've known these guys for a long time, and I loved this conversation. Here is Big and Rich. All right, welcome back. We are here in Nashville at the listening room. Big and Rich in the house. Let's go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man. This has been one I've been really excited about. Known you for a long time now, and Kenny, we've crossed paths several times over the years, and just
small world.
Yeah, looking forward to this. So. I want to, I always kind of start from the beginning, and I want to dive into a lot of the songs that you guys have and get into the stories behind those. So let's just get a abbreviated version. I'd like to hear just how both of you got started in music and what brought you to Nashville.
It was really two separate trails that happened. For me, it was right out of high school, I started working at Opryland USA, the old theme park, and that's where I met Dean Sams, who invited me to be a part of a band, and I didn't go to college because I wanted to go play with this band out on the road, playing Holiday Inn lounges and wherever, and that band became Lonestar. And so I had a good about 6 or 7 year run with that band.
You were like 19, right?
Yeah, I was 18 the first night we played a show. Yeah, so it was right out of high school.
Yeah,
and then when that deal ended with Lonestar, they fired me, by the way, which they should have. I was hard to get along with back then. It was the right choice for everybody at that point. But I was out kind of just roaming on my own at that point. No record deal, no anything. And about that time, I think maybe a few years prior to that's when this guy rolled into town from Virginia. So you tell them about how you got here.
So I rolled in here the summer of 1994 from Virginia. My start in music was in church choir. My mother was in this little country church. She started a choir and had us all singing from as little as I can remember. And, but other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of the thought ever of music could possibly be a career in this town that I grew up in. So, I was a farm boy, so I was farming and working construction until the construction industry collapsed. In the late 80s, right around 90, when the whole savings and loan thing happened across the U.S. All the banks shuttered, the construction jobs just shuttered. It was horrific. And that was the key. That was God saying, hey, man, I'm going to put another idea in your mind, and that is that you can travel to this place called Nashville, Tennessee, and try to make it in the music business because you love to sing. And I did love to sing. I mean, I was one of those guys that's always whistle while you work or sing along to the radio while you work. And all these friends would always say, Kenneth, you ought to go to Nashville, man. I hear they pay people to make music down there. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. But, lo and behold, summer of 1994, I figured I'd hop in a car and come down here and see what it's like. It was like the second time I'd been out of the state,
Yeah.
So, I came
Didn't
down
you
here.
see us play?
Yeah. Well, the first year I was here in 1994, me and Rory Lee Feek, we had met up and we were songwriting buddies, and we'd heard about this new band that was doing a showcase down at the Wild Horse Saloon. And that was like that fall that I was here, So I came down to the Wild Horse Saloon. Lo and behold, this is the first time I saw this guy. And he was on stage in his two-tone jeans that Granny Rich made, man. Those two-tone Wranglers. And never forget that, standing in the back going, man, these guys are pretty good. Then next thing you know, we had a mutual friend that worked at Fender Guitars, Cindy Sims, that knew about John, knew about me, and thought we would, write well together. So she was on a mission to introduce us and brought him to a show I was doing at Douglas Corner.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, move forward. This is like 1998 now.
Yeah. You used to throw candy and stuff out. Didn't you get hit by a piece of candy or gum or something?
Got hit by a piece of Big Kenny. Kenny said everybody needs to go home with a little something, so he's throwing candy out. I saw Kenny play that show at Douglas Corner, and that's honestly one thing that's sad to me about what's happened in Nashville and development is we've lost so many of those places. I mean, you have a great one here, the Listening Room. But, man, there used to be great spots all over town where artists and writers and pickers and people could hang out and meet. I mean, had it not been for those spots, we wouldn't have met.
Yeah.
But I watched Kenny play, and I'm going, I don't know what that is. I don't know what he is. I don't know what this music is. And I kept watching it, and I went, it is highly creative. I mean, you could hear the quality of what it was. It was legit music. I just didn't know what the hell it was.
These candy-colored glasses that I'm wearing, staring, noticing that everything is just the way I'd like for it to be.
Psychobilly rock and roll
before you walk into my dreams.
Yeah, psychobilly rock and roll, something like that. But after it was over, Cindy Simmons introduced us, and we were like, "Yeah, what's up? Okay." She says we should write. Maybe okay, we'll try it. What are you doing tomorrow? We got together and wrote one. Next day, wrote another one, and then another, and every day. And then we started writing a couple a day, and that just turned into the freight train that is where we are today. That was the beginning.
Yeah.
She was right.
Yeah.
She was right.
Yeah. And both of you guys are so creative. I mean, the fact that you have your own style and you, Kenny, have, and the fact that both of you could see like, okay, this blended together could be something that's never been done before.
We actually did not think that. So you would think that, but we went on with this pace for several years, and people started as a joke calling us Big and Rich, because we'd walk into a place like the Listening Room and everybody go, "Hey, look, it's Big and Rich, ha ha ha," like a joke, like, "Hey, we're Big and Rich." It was just a joke. We didn't think there was any commercial value to it. I mean, I was still thinking I'm a solo act, and he's thinking he's a solo act.
You were a solo act.
Yeah, I was. From
the time we met, I got a record deal. I had a solo deal on Hollywood Records. He gets another record deal with RCA. Both of us had solo deals again. Neither one of them worked out so well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're still writing. We're still cranking. We're still just going at it with everything we got. And that's about the time that the whole Music Mafia thing popped up, and we started playing these shows every Tuesday night at a little place called the Pub of Love.
Yeah.
Here in town.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about that, because I mean, that was one of the first memories I have when I first moved to Nashville, and, getting pulled in, and didn't really know a lot of people. And, a couple of people that I met was like, "Man, you got to go check this thing out."
I'm impressed you can remember it. That was quite an atmosphere back then.
Yeah. And that was in my younger pre-marriage days where I was pretty wild.
Right.
But it was just, I mean, I remember just standing back, just watching, just a rotation of just musicians just jam for hours. It was just like, this is incredible. So that was just a natural thing that just kind of evolved. Like, talk a little bit about, how it started, and then just, like we just got back from the Bahamas a month and a half ago or so. And, just the fact that Troy and Gretchen, everybody is still around, and, 2 Foot Fred used to come and station on a weekly basis. And I mean, there was just so much love and energy around that. So talk a little bit about.
Well, what you had in Nashville at that point was the beginning of a culture of lots of different artists from different genres moving to Nashville.
Yeah.
You had R&B guys, you had rappers, you had, of course, country guys. There was a lot of rock and roll happening in Nashville at that point. And so we're friends with all these various artists from various genres. And if you wanted to go see Big Kenny, you got to go down to, Exit In or something. If you want to go see John Nicholson, who's more R&B, you got to go to that place. If you want to see me, you got to go to the country bar. And so we're like, we all want to play together, though. And there was no place where it made sense for all of us to be on stage at the same time. So we said, well, we're just going to put something together, and just for our own entertainment, we'll start jamming out. We'll call it the Music Mafia, and Mafia stood for Musically Artistic Friends and Alliance, because we looked at it like that, like it's a team. And we always said, if one of us gets signed, if one of us gets the big record deal, we'll point the spotlight at the others, and we'll try to help each other. Whoever gets the break, we'll help each other out. And that was the whole vibe. The way you got on a Music Mafia stage was you had to be vetted. So we would listen to you and determine, can that person hold an audience for how many minutes was it? 3 songs or 15 minutes?
Yeah, 3
Basically,
songs,
if you can get up and nobody knows who the hell you are in front of our crowd, which are music fanatics, and you can hold that crowd and you can make them go nuts for about 15 minutes, you're invited to come back. That was the whole litmus test. And some of them did and some of them didn't. But this is where you start running into Shannon Lawson and James Otto. And Gretchen was still bartending. I invited her up one night. I said, I'm pretty sure she can do 15 minutes. And she came in and just
tore it up.
Big Kenny and I had seen her at a bar down in Printer's Alley, and she just murdered it. And everybody in the room went, what is that? I go, I know, right? I mean, this girl's got to be a superstar.
Yeah.
So it was accidentally on purpose, is the way I would put it. It was very purposeful for us to start those jams because we thought it was unhealthy that artists, just because you're in different genres, could not cohabitate. And now if you look at Nashville in 2025,
totally
that's
different.
The whole game plan now. I mean, everybody's mixing it across. But back then, trying something even like what me and Big Kenny were doing with those kind of songs, the record labels would say, what? That ain't country.
It was a whole lot of that ain't country.
Yeah. That ain't country.
And then, that turned out being what country was for the next, would turn into for the next 2 decades.
Yeah.
You got to understand that this place that we played to, we've been playing at the 12th and Porter, which was right across the street there. That was pretty much at least a monthly occurrence that, I'd be in there with my 4-piece rock band, Lovejoy. John would come, play country acoustic. Cowboy Troy would fly in, hop on stage. We'd put a cape on him like he was Superman.
Yeah.
And, those shows turned into some real craziness. So we knew that positivity existed in putting, multi influences together.
Like a chemistry set of music.
Yeah.
So, we asked this lady that was running at that point in time, she says, could we do like a songwriter thing every week? She says, well, maybe not in this room, but, there's a upstairs on the Pub of Love if y'all want to go check it out. We go up there to check it out, and the place is just a mess. There was nothing up there. There's no sound system. There's no seats. It was a glorified closet. So we're like, okay, we can deal with this. So we go up there, we clean it up. There was an old mattress in the back. We lay it on the floor for people to sit on. We bring in 3 chairs for me, John Nicholson, and Corey Gearman with other 2 godfathers. We brought in a little PVPA that I had, and we set up mics and invited. The first week, it was like 12 of our friends came. Every week there was no email, or email was the only thing you had then. There was no web, social media, anything.
Mm-mm.
So basically it started every week. Me, Corey, John, we get on the phone, just call up friends and say, hey, we're going to do this tonight if y'all want to come down. And it went from 12 the first week to like 24 the next week to like 36 the next week to 48 to within like 6 months. The windows were open. People were hanging off the fire escape. People were standing in the street. Finally, we opened it up and they said, hey, we could do this outside if the weather's good. So we go into the back parking lot, started doing it there. That was the summer that we did, the thing with Mark, what do they call
Priceless Edge.
Priceless Edge program.
With the credit card
So they
company.
had these 50 students from all around the country had won this contest where they were brought into Nashville to experience everything about the music industry, right? And so part of the process was to learn how writers write songs, to go into the studio, learn how writers record songs, to go on stage, learn how writers perform songs. So John and I get picked as their mentors to do this because the guy who was managing me at the time, Mark Oswald, was the dude that was running that program. So, Kenny, I got something that'll pay your bills this month. I'm like, great, man, I'm down. So, in doing that, we broke these kids up into groups of 10, and we would set up a writing session with them. So it's 50 of them. We had 5 different writing sessions. At the same time, we're doing the Music Mafia. So we take John's pickup down on Tuesday nights, pick them all up as many as we could, and haul them down to the Music Mafias. Yeah. So during those sessions, these are the songs that we wrote. Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Come on.
Coming to Your City.
Yep. Those are the 2 big ones that came out. I mean, that's pretty good, 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wrote those 2 songs. Coming to Your City, the whole thing on that. High five. You got 10 college kids, and we go, okay, we need to know what town each one of you are from. And so one kid go, Buffalo. I'm from what all the towns that are in Coming to Your City. So we wrote them down. We said, okay, here's the task. Can we get all these cities into one song and make it make sense? And so we wrote Coming to Your City, which now has been the theme to College Game Day football for 20 years.
Yeah. 20 years, that's crazy.
We open our show with that song still.
Yeah.
We were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. If an opportunity showed up, we'd take it. Really didn't matter what it was. And if there was no opportunity, we would just create the situation, which is what Mafia was.
I mean, it was definitely, John and I were definitely in the stir it up every week mode, stir it up every day mode.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never met anybody like him. I mean, the inspiration I found just in writing with him was immense. I mean, it was always, no matter what I threw at him, man, he'd throw something back at me. It was just a constant engage and the energy to make music, to write songs and to perform it. I mean, we would write every afternoon or evening. Then we would go find some stage we could hop up on and sing a song or do something and find some inspiration for the next day. I mean, most all those songs also have inspiration that came from those times. I mean, there was something that was happening in our lives that created the ideas to write the songs. And man,
isn't that what country music is?
That is country music.
That's country music. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Let's start to dive into some of those songs. I think that's a good transition. Let's talk about Save a Horse. Take me into the room when you guys wrote that. I think I didn't know that story, that it was during that, which is so cool.
We're in a room with these kids. There's 10 kids. There's some random room down somewhere around Vanderbilt, and we walked into that one, and always try to introduce ourselves, get to know everybody, all the kids in the room, get them know their names, and we asked the question. So, is anybody, one of the things you got to start out with for a song is like just an idea, a title or something like that. Has anybody heard anything crazy this week? Right. And this one girl raises her hand. She says, yeah, we went down, they took us down to the Wild Horse, and this cowboy came up to me and said, hey, darling, you want to save a horse and ride a cowboy? John and I look at each other and says, that's it. That's it. Touchdown. We got a song to write. And then,
thank you to a drunk cowboy.
Yeah. John had just, we were both kind of living off whatever we could scrounge up at the time. John had a little successes. So now and again, he'd have a check that came in from something, and he'd had a check come in for something that week. So he rolled in with like $1,000. He had like cash. He'd just gone and cashed this thing. And he goes in there, and the first thing he did is he handed every kid in there a $100 bill. He says, I guess y'all are wondering why I did that. Why is that? He says, well, I want y'all to know that if you're going to make music, that sooner or later, you're going to have to make a living doing it.
You're going to have to get paid. So here you go. I felt like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber. Here you go. For you. Yeah. And so that's where, while I walk into the room passing out $100 bills, is where that came from.
How the song started.
So we don't really make stuff up.
Yeah.
Like it's just the scenarios we found ourselves in were so over the top that all you had to do was just write the song about what's going on in the room at that minute, and the song itself is unbelievably crazy.
The song writes itself.
Yeah. So that's 2004, is that right?
When it came out,
I mean, just what was the feedback with the radio? Because it was just so different.
Well, that song was never meant to be a single. A matter of fact, it was a conversation with Warner Brothers about the song being on the record at all, because they said the song is so ridiculous, we're afraid people won't take you seriously if that song is on the record. Remember that?
And some of the things some of the lyric in it, they thought was maybe just a little too edgy.
Yeah.
Going about as far as she let me go. Like that.
Yeah.
They were like, whoa. And look at what they're talking about now in country music.
Yeah.
We just asked Paul Worley. Thank God Paul Worley took over Warner Brothers. He's the only reason we got a record deal, because he was nutty enough to see that there might be something here and gave us a deal. But we went to Paul and said, please let us put the song on the record. Just an album cut, whatever. And he goes, okay, fine. We'll put it on the record. So we did, and Wild West Show came out as our first single. And it was doing pretty good. It was in like the 20s. And we released the record Horse of a Different Color, which means now the fans can hear the whole thing. And all of a sudden, the record label calls and says, we're getting phone calls from radio stations all around the country asking us, requesting like track number 7 on the record. You okay if we play that? And the label's like, and they're like, Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy? Like, yeah. They go, yeah, I guess if you want to play it every now and then. Well, man, that turned into just an explosion at radio. It pretty much.
We knew because we were now playing it live in front of thousands of people every week.
We knew what it was.
Tim McGraw had taken us out on tour. So here we were out there in front of 15, 20,000 people a week. And the
going
place
bananas.
is insane with Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Yeah.
He says that, there was radio calling up going, will you let us play as a song? And then at the same time, when they went back out to some of the other radio who hadn't necessarily taken it like that, they said, hell no, we're not playing that song.
It never went top 10.
So it was like half of them loved it and could go along, thought this was maybe the future of country music. Another half of them thought it was going to be the demise.
Yeah. I'll give you an interesting statistic. So, Horse of a Different Color was selling about 120,000 records a week. It made it the number one record in all of country music for multiple weeks in a row.
For a year.
Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy on the radio while we're number one selling record in country music week after week after week. And country radio killed the single before it got to top 10 because they said it didn't have the research. So if you want to know, for any artists that are watching this podcast, understand this and understand it well. The music industry does not understand what the future of country music is. Yeah. It is left up to the songwriters and the singers and the artists to put it out there, and you drive the direction of the genre. When they tell you Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy is not getting researched well on country radio, and 20 years later, you look up, and that's it's
a gold standard.
It's like a Sweet Home Alabama or A Devil Went Down to Georgia, pretty much. It's one of those.
Huge. Still, you can't walk up and down Lower Broad or any performing room in this town of the hundreds of them that are here and not hear that played at least 4 times in any given night by every band that's down there.
Right. I covered, funny story, Save a Horse when it came out, and still to this day is one of my dad's favorite songs. And when it came out, it was his favorite song. So here's my dad, and I would cover it, and my dad would get up on stage with me every now and then. And it was like, he would always do your part, and he'd get up and I'd give him the mic and he'd be like,
well, I'm a thoroughbred.
I'm a thoroughbred.
That's what she said.
That's what she said in the back of my truck bed as I was getting buzzed on suds. He would pronunciate every single word, and I'm like, Dad, you got to loosen up, man. But it was so cool.
Well, but it's a good thing to know that artists need to understand what we just said there. If you make a record and there are songs that you have written that down into your guts, whether it's a hit or not, that song is important to you as an artist. You want that to be heard. You got to fight for that.
Yeah.
You got to fight, even if it's, hey man, just at least let it be an album cut to the record man. Whatever you got to do. And if they don't let you put it on the record, play it every single show until the pressure comes back and they have to.
Times
you
cannot
give up.
Totally different from a standpoint now, though, that you can reach your audience so much more easily than what we were able to then. So we had to base it on our live performances. We knew from the time that we wrote it, just in front of those kids, how much it lit them up. We knew then that we were playing it every week at Music Mafias. It was lighting people up. Once we made that demo, we were giving it to our friends. They would call us from some party somewhere saying, dude, this thing is driving people crazy.
We just played it 10 times in a row. The girls are freaking out. The girls are freaking out.
So imagine if social media had existed then. How big that song would have been. And it crossed genres, too.
Yeah.
It wasn't just in country music. Country music has ownership of it, but everybody plays it. And you go meet any other artist in any format now. When we were, invited to things like the Grammys back then, man, all those artists knew us because of that song.
Yep.
Yeah. In any format, anywhere, they considered it a hit. It didn't make any difference to them that it was country. So I think it brought an even bigger audience to country music. It probably did exactly the opposite of what country radio was thinking at that point in time. It increased the mass of the audience.
We've had big artists come to us and say, when we heard Horse of a Different Color, that's when we decided to pack up and move to Nashville. Florida Georgia Line has told us that more times than I can count. When we heard, because they were making Florida Georgia Line style country in college, and they said, we heard Horse of a Different Color and saw that it hit, and we went, if those guys can do that, we can do what we're doing. And so I think those kind of songs.
It was in a magazine. It was in multiple magazines and media over the past 2 months from a gal who's one of the biggest artists in pop music right now, Chapel Roan, Miss Pink Pony Club.
Right, she named Save a Horse as her favorite country song.
Her favorite country song and inspiration for what she's writing. Right?
Wow. That's what she said. I'm like, what? I think it was like a bat signal that went off to all the creative people around the U.S. that there's a new game in town. The crayon box just got a lot bigger. You can use different colors now.
Right. This episode is brought to you by Sennheiser microphones. When we first started this podcast, we were using some older microphones, and Sennheiser came in and sponsored us and gave us some MK4s and 914s. And I mean, I'm telling you, it's made all of the difference in the world. We love these microphones. We use them at the listening room as well. And I just can't say enough great things about them. Go check out Sennheiser.com. If you are into music in any way, their microphones are hands down the best on the planet. Go check them out, Sennheiser.com. And thank you, Sennheiser, for the support and the sponsorship. We love y'all. I think, it's also amazing that, you can have a song like that. And then you also have the deep emotional, like Holy Water and like, just 18th of November, just those songs that you can get wild and crazy over here. And, but then like, hey,
this is life.
This is, and it's just like, Kenny, you're always like, talking about just, love for everyone and all of that. I mean, it's just, I see that around both of you guys in your music. And let's talk about that a little bit too. Like, Chris, when we were on the boat in the Bahamas, he was like, hey man, you want to go up and bartend on this song?
8th of November,
and I was like, man, I'd love to, but I got somebody a whole lot better looking than me. And that was when Brittany, my wife, got up there and did that. That was, thank you for letting her do that. I know you guys make a point every single show. I don't even remember how many hundreds of times
it's over 1,000 shows back to back consecutively that we bring veterans and active duty up on stage before we sing the 8th of November. We have them write down their name, their rank, where they served, when they served, and we'll read that off. Our first guest tonight is, Jim Smith, United States Army. Tell the years and read it off. The crowd claps. And then before we do anything, we hand the microphone to them and let them say whatever they want to say about their service. And of course, you see all the hands that go up in the audience every night that are vets that aren't up on stage, so they're speaking on their behalf. And it is powerful. Every single night they finish, then we play the 8th of November about our friend in South Dakota, Niles Harris, a Vietnam veteran that we met actually before we had a record deal.
We're playing a little
early on.
Yeah, we're playing got invited to play a little juke joint up in Deadwood, South Dakota, population like few hundred people, right?
Yeah.
So the fellow that we meet that night was the bartender in that little establishment, and he kind of befriended us, and he's standing back there. Had this long beard, Fu Manchu looking long ponytail, and was wearing a badge with a bullet hole through it and a top hat.
Wow.
And I was quite enthralled by his top hat.
Covered in tats.
Next thing you know, he's taken us. We're there to play for a couple nights. He took us, asked us if we wanted to go to breakfast and see a gold mine. We'd ever seen a gold mine. So we went with him to see this gold mine. He took us out in this old 73 Ford he had stickers all over all the windows, and all of them were military-style stickers. And we noticed
F. Jane Fonda, that was one of his big stickers.
So we started asking him about it, and he tells us this story. He was a veteran, tells us a story when he was in Vietnam on the 8th of November, 1965. And then next thing you know, we get to know him, get to know this guy and carry on a relationship with him that's lasted all these years. But he's like, you boys ought to write a song about it. Next thing you know, John and I wrote a song about it.
Yep. and it's his biography. I mean, it is, again, it's
very
one of those, like we talked about earlier, it could be a crazy song like Save a Horse. Well, that's actually what was going on in the room. And that's actually what we were doing at night up and down Broadway. 8th of November, same thing. We didn't have to make anything up with that song. We just listened to what Niles said, wrote down those details, and then wrote the biography of his service in the Army. We found out probably a year or so after that song had come out, Niles told us that the 173rd Airborne Brigade did not have a memorial, and that over the years, thousands of men had died serving in the 173rd. It's just outside of Fort Benning, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And so Kenny and I were like, wonder if we can raise enough money to build a memorial. I wonder what that would cost. I don't know, but we'd give it a shot. So we called up Gretchen.
Leonard Skinner.
Went down and did a giant amphitheater, sold the thing out, 25,000 tickets. All the money went to build the memorial for the 173rd Airborne Brigade. It is there today.
Got chills.
And when you go there, it is not dissimilar to the Vietnam Wall in D.C. It feels like that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. All those airborne members, all carved and granite all the way around it. It's amazing.
One important thing artists have to know, you have to put yourself in a position for things to happen. Like we went to this little town, Deadwood, South Dakota, because we just did. Because somebody wanted us to go up there and sing, and we just wanted to be heard and we wanted to have some fun. This is where we meet Niles. This is where a legendary story and song is created and built that winds up building the memorial for the 173rd. I mean, I worry sometimes currently that artists don't get out there enough and mix it up enough and go do things off the radar just to try to tap into something they haven't tapped into before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've lost a lot of those places in Nashville, like we talked about earlier, where those interactions could happen. You got to go out and find it. If you just sit behind your laptop all day and at your home studio all day trying to come up with a hit, that ain't really where the juice is at.
Yeah.
Right? The juice is out there in the world,
in the
around
real world.
the people.
In the real world, things don't always turn out so
good.
good like you wish they would.
Right. Because I think a lot of artists watch this, obviously, and they're probably looking for, like, how should I philosophically come at my career?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you talk about, like, the fact that social media, where it is today, too. That's, we talk a lot about that. It's great because you can get your songs out. You don't need a label, and, you can just write a song today and have it out on the DSPs tomorrow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a lot of noise out there too, because there's so much stuff getting released, and that's the other
noise.
Yeah.
So it's still, I think, the organicness of what happened during those times is really what John's talking about. That organicness. At that point in time, it was still the fans who told us that it was good. It was still the fans who elevated it. And today, to cut through the noise, it's just no different. It's just different platforms. Yeah. But it can really elevate it if it likes it. Yeah. So, we've definitely seen artists come about over the past decade because of social media, and social media elevated them. And, they were smart enough to work it and to know how to work it. I think there's definitely pros and cons to it, which, we could spend the whole show discussing that also, but, no
it's
doubt.
It's still important, though, when you sit next to somebody and you look at somebody and you hear them live and you feel what's going on, you can feel it.
Yeah.
You don't get that through a computer screen.
Yeah.
You just don't. And so any artist that really wants to be serious and get as much out of themselves as they can, you should be hunting down those places.
Anywhere you can get in front of a few people and play it. I mean,
and go listen to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Go listen to a lot of people. Somebody that ain't even in your genre, but they're badass at what they do. Go sit in the back of the room and just watch them, because I've always picked stuff up off of people who I consider to be more talented than I am. They're coming at it from a different angle. It always impacts you in your own art.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about this room is, like, I get to see so many great writers and watch them come up. And then the same thing with the artists, so many of them, you talked about FGL, those guys were, we were all going to Key West for the Songwriters Festival together. And, I remember the first time they got a call, it was like, hey, we're going to go do this radio show down in Florida. And it was like, we're gonna tell them we're Florida Georgia Line. And we were making fun of them. We were like, where'd that come from? It was
right.
But yeah, I mean, you see, like, I come to shows and I sit up there in the balcony and I just watch, and I mean, it's just so different that you can feel that. And that's what I felt going back to the Mafia days. I mean, it was just like when I walked in those rooms, it's like, man, this is something super special, and just the talent that's overpouring. You don't get that.
Just raw, unfiltered octane.
Yeah.
The kind of energy, man, between friends too. It was just awesome. It was beautiful. I mean, everybody was there to support each other, to encourage each other, and keep any of the riffraff out of the room, just to keep it pure and inspiring and creative. It was just magical, man.
Yeah.
God definitely blessed us that he let that happen during
Amen.
that time. So, amen.
Let's I know a lot of the songs just come, like you said, John, that it's just what you're living. What, like, if we needed to pick a song that you would say has the best story of how you came up with the idea and how you guys wrote it, what song would that be?
I think a couple of Aldine songs that we've written together are probably two of my favorite. Kenny might have different ones, but I know he likes these. Amarillo Sky was one. So Kenny comes from a farm town in Virginia, Culpeper. I grew up in the panhandle of Texas in Amarillo, so all of my grandparents, great and even great-greats, the great-greats came in like the 1830s, 1840s, and they were basically land busters. I mean, they would come out and just homestead big farms in the panhandle. It's flat as a board. The wind blows 30 miles an hour on a calm day. It's Tornado Alley. I mean, it is floods or drought. I mean, it's a rough end of Texas. And watching my uncles and granddaddies and neighbors and everybody that would farm like that, man, Kenny and I had that in common. We all had those stories of it's, feast or famine in the farming world. And so we thought we need to write just the ultimate farmer song.
Yeah.
And so Amarillo Sky was born. And when Aldine heard that, the story with Aldine is he didn't have a record deal or anything. He had come to town.
He was coming to my office.
Trying to get one. He came to a couple of those. But he had a song plugger, Michael Knox. And I was currently at Warner Chapel, had a little publishing deal there. Michael Knox was my song plugger. And so he knew this kid, Jason Aldine. And Knox comes to me one day and he says, "Hey, man, I'm working with this new guy out of Georgia. He doesn't have a deal or anything. But I played him some of y'all's demos, man, and he loves these songs. I want to know if he could use them in his showcases trying to get a record deal." And I said, "Well, who is he?" He says, "His name's Jason Aldine." I said, "Well, is he any good?" He goes, "Yeah, he's pretty good." I said, "Well, me and Kenny," I said, "what songs does he like?" And Knox says he likes Amarillo Sky, Hicktown. It goes through 3 or 4 songs that we had written. And I went, "Well, he's got a good ear because those are some of the best things we've written." I said, we got to pitch those songs, man. I mean, we're barely getting by. He goes, "No, man, we'll keep pitching them. He just wants to use them to try to get a deal." So he showcased a bunch of times with those songs and finally got his record deal. And then he cut all those songs and they all became their standard songs now for Aldine. Yeah. I think Hicktown is probably my favorite story of any song we ever wrote.
Yeah.
Because we had been out the night before till God knows when, showed up the next morning over at my little apartment in Hillsborough Village, pouring coffee, dripping a little Crown Royal in it. We're like, hair of the dog. And I said, wouldn't it be hilarious if we could get thousands of people to scream the word butt crack all at the same time? This is where your head is at this time of the morning. Kenny went, that would be insane. That would be hilarious.
Like a roofer, and he's up there laying down. He's a little big gutted, and his shirt's all tucked up, and his pants are falling down.
You see his butt crack? I said, And Vicki McGehee was with us, so one of our best friends, and written tons of hits with her. And Vicky's like, "You guys are crazy." We go, "Well, let's see, whatever. We don't even care if we don't write anything worth the crap today. Let's just see if we can get the word butt crack in the song and make it make sense." And so we start writing Hicktown, and you get to that second verse. "You can see the neighbor's butt crack, nailing on a shingle." And I went, that might be one of the dumbest songs ever been written. And of course, Jason Aldine loves it.
Yeah.
Which made me love him even more. I'm like, oh, he gets it. And so now every night at his shows, thousands and tens of thousands of people scream the word butt crack at the top of their lungs. Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah.
Humor is something to me that country music, and the country music I like, and the old country music, it's the funny, humorous stuff, the funny Johnny Cash, the funny Mel Tillis stuff, the Roger Miller songs, that element of country music that existed back in the classic days of country. If you ever introduce that into modern country music, it generally always works.
I'm a rock
people
star, I'm a
love to
cowboy.
laugh.
Everybody sings along.
Yeah.
I mean, the insanity in that album.
Green, green grass
and a rubber
Russian
Russian
bimbo.
No one's got a name for the brain and a scarecrow. How can he believe what he sees on a TV? Nothing but extreme, over-executed fantasy. Happy dancing feet down the street, down the corner. Some may say they're silly, some may say that he's alone. How can he explain he's got a name nobody knows it? Did anybody ever stop and offer him a Prozac? Prozac, Prozac, Prozac.
There you go.
Horse of a
I
different
love it.
color.
Imagine, I mean, what was wrong with Paul Worley to hear songs like that and actually give us a record and a budget? He gave us a budget.
And he gave us a budget. Yeah.
Man, I
Thank
love
God.
it.
Yeah. What a time. What a time.
I think that's a good point to talk about too. That there's so many artists that come on and like when they get to their success, they're just writing songs for them. And you guys are still writing songs for other people. Last Dollar that, with Tim, I think is a great story. And John, you've got some great stuff that you're doing for your solo stuff too. So
yeah, I mean, I wrote one with Ray Lynn the other day that I think she just got a big deal, actually. I'm probably not supposed to say with who or whatever, but Ray Lynn, I love Ray Lynn. We both love her. She's like a little
Ray
sister
Lynn's
to
great.
us. And I wrote one with her and Bob DePiro. One of the greatest of all time.
Oh, love him.
And a total character.
Yeah.
And she's cut it, and I think it's going to come out. So you write songs for all kinds of reasons. Like you talked about, Last Dollar is one of the best songs I think Kenny ever wrote. Classic. We still play it on stage. I wrote Mississippi Girl because Faith Hill literally walked up to me and said, write a song for me that only makes sense if I sing it. I went, what do you mean by that? She goes, like Redneck Woman only makes sense for Gretchen. Yeah, one of those except for me. And so I said, okay. So we've been given all kinds of tasks. Sometimes it's in the moment, like a Save a Horse, or it's 8th of November. Sometimes it's a task. We call that sniper songwriting. Like it's not a shotgun blast, it's a target, and I bang, and I got to hit that target.
Mississippi was definitely, that was a sniper, man.
That was a sniper
and
shot.
You nailed it, and it was just perfect for her.
Yeah, that was a sniper shot. So
Last Dollar was like, that was about as in the moment as you can possibly get. But, I wasn't necessarily writing that for Tim. I was just writing what was happening in my life. And in my life at that point in time, it was 2002. I was in Vegas for the first night of the Alabama farewell tour, believe it or not.
20 years ago, they did their farewell tour.
Was their farewell
How many
tour.
gigs are they doing this year?
Yeah.
But that
We
was,
should do a farewell tour.
Exactly.
Take 2 years off and then plow it for the next 20.
20, yeah. So,
plan.
Amazing night, saw this amazing show, got to go up to their suite for a New Year's Eve party. And, but I came across the great realization, as the party's winding down, that I got to come back to Nashville. And I was still in between record deals, which means you're broke. And I was wondering how I was going to pay my bills when I got back to Nashville. But I had a few $20 bills still left in my pocket. And that was all I had to my name. So I thought I would do what any red-blooded American young man would do, and I'd go to a blackjack table and see if I could make enough to pay my bills. So I go down, it's like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning at that point in time. I go down and I play blackjack for the next 2, 3 hours. I'd gotten to the point where I'd won 10 hands in a row, man. I'd gotten my $50 up to $800. And it was at that point where if I doubled it one more time, that I would have enough to pay all my bills when I got my rent, my cable,
Says every
my
gambler.
electric.
Yeah.
Says every gambler. So I did what any of us would do, and I pushed it all out there. I had like a $20 chip and a $1 chip left. And she deals the hands around, and lo and behold, that time the dealer dealt herself a blackjack. So I lost my $800, but had that $20 chip, and I just went, man. I handed her that $20. I said, thank you so much, man. I wish I could tip you more, but I'm going to keep this one because I might need a little something to start over with. And I went up to my hotel room, and I sat down on the edge of the bed, and I went to pull off my boot, and the heel come right off the bottom of my boot. So I laid back on the bed, and I looked up, and I said, what next, Lord? And, man, within the next 30 minutes, it just came to me. I'm down to my last dollar. I've walked right through my shoes. A friendly, small reminder of all the hell that I've gone through. But look at me still smiling because I'm wondering what I'll do. Because since I ain't got nothing, I got nothing to lose.
See?
And 1,
See how
2,
brilliant?
3, like a bird I sang, because you've given me such a beautiful set of wings. And I'm so glad you're all here today, because tomorrow I might have to go and fly away, fly away, fly away.
And thank God for Tim McGraw.
Yeah.
You know, Tim, hearing songs like that and cutting them. Tim booked us for our first major tour. It was over 80 cities. We were the middle act, so it was the Warren Brothers, Big and Rich, and Tim McGraw. This is prior to Save a Horse being a hit song. He heard the Horse of a Different Color record in a pickup truck in the parking lot with John McBride, Martina's husband, outside of the Blackbird Studios. And McBride goes, you got to hear this record these guys Big and Rich are making. Pops in the CD, and Tim just goes, what? Next thing you know, we're getting a phone call. Hey, I love your music.
Here with John McBride.
I want you guys to be the middle act on my tour next year, 80 plus cities. And we said, are you kidding me?
What?
And then we called
out of the blue, get a call from Tim McGraw, right?
We called Cowboy Troy, who was working at a Foot Locker in Dallas selling tennis shoes.
Yeah.
I said, dude, this is important. He goes, okay, man, hang on a minute. Let me walk back to the supply room. So he goes back to the supply room. He goes, yeah, man, what's going on? I said, Tim McGraw just booked us for like 80 cities. And
you're rapping on our opening song. Can you come on tour with us?
Song. We've got a bunk open on the bus, dude. Can you come? He goes, I'll have to quit my job. I go, you're going to get paid to come on the road. He goes, okay, I'm quitting right now. And so he quits his job.
Wow.
And there goes Cowboy Troy. And then McGraw loved Troy so much, he said he had a song called She's My Kind of Rain out at that point. Tim did. He says, Troy, can you write a rap to She's My Kind of Rain? And I'm going to bring you out in the middle of that song, in the middle of my set, the headline set. And Troy goes, yeah, man, give me a couple days. So Troy worked on it. And for every city after that, McGraw brought Troy out and let him rap during She's My Kind of Rain, which was the #1 song.
Wow.
So that's what McGraw did for us.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people helped us get this story that you're talking about today in place.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Man, I love that.
Yeah. We could go on for days.
Yeah. I wish we had like the whole day. Just like what was that like? I mean, it happened so quick. I mean, what was going through your heads? Just like all of a sudden, like.
I mean,
what's going through our heads is this ain't real.
Yeah.
I mean, how'd that happen? Tim McGraw's called. What's going on?
I mean, we couldn't believe it because we did not have anything to earn that position with his tour. We did not have a big hit song. Save a Horse was not out.
Yeah.
It was Wild West Show was out.
But we had made the record. You know, Paul Worley had played it for John and Martina. Martina actually said she would sing on a song on her album. She sang on Live This Life with us, which so you know, John, he's such a big supporter of her and was also just, you know, really wanted to mentor us also, became a huge supporter of ours.
Yep.
I mean, I remember he would take a phone call on the, you know, from the bus at 3 a.m. in the morning and says, guys, anything you know, I can help y'all with, just let me know, man. I've been through it all. And so they're out having dinner with the McGraws, and next thing you know, he plays the album, and it was that album, it was the music, it was the songs that just blew Tim's mind at that time.
Yeah.
You know, to him, I'm sure it was different than anything he'd ever heard too. So he just decides in that moment he's going to call us up and say, I want y'all on tour. I mean, it happened that organically and that quickly.
Yeah, there was no managers, no record labels talking, no promoters.
Yeah.
Just Tim picked up the phone.
So it's just craziness. And, you know, both of us had been through a whole lot at that point in time. I mean, hell, I'd been in Nashville now for, you know, we've talked about it. Sounds like this all happened overnight the way we're talking about it here, but that's 10 years from when I arrived in town, 1994, over 10 years for John. You know, we've both been through record deals already. We've both seen how it can come and can go and how hard it is to break through it and to make anything happen. So, you know, you definitely, you know, everything that happens to you, it's kind of unreal in the moment. But yet we were still game to go along with it. Like,
we
man, go on tour with Tim McGraw.
We rang that tour out for everything it was worth. Yeah. And so did the Warren Brothers, and they all both went to rehab right after that and have been sober ever since.
Yeah.
You can't believe how many pair of Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy underwear we sold that year. Just unbelievable.
It was insanity.
Yeah. Man, I love that. It's it's been fun just to watch. I mean, and you guys pour into other artists too. I mean, just you know, it's and even, you know, like John, when we first met years ago back at the Spot, you didn't know who I was, and you're just like, hey, we're having a party at Love Circle. You want to, I'm
right.
like, and I've been to your house a few times of just, decent sized crowds, and then, where it's like, I'm up on the balcony looking down and it's just like a venue, and it's and, but the fact that like, you just open your door to things like that and to people on the road. And
we're paying it forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, look what McGraw did for us. We want to do that for other artists. And we really love the artists. We love the songwriter. We love the creatives. We're empathetic to where they are. They're trying to break through. There's a girl named Mary Cutter who I heard a song from her called The Devil Wore a Lab Coat. I heard that song 2 or 3 days ago. Go look up Mary Cutter, Kutter. And I followed her on X and put a comment on her, and she saw it and followed me back, and I direct messaged her, and she didn't have a record deal yet, and we exchanged phone numbers, and I went, you are doing something that could be mega big, mega huge. Stay with what you're doing. So
that ain't her only song either.
No, she got a lot of great songs.
Yeah.
She's a killer.
And
so I think we always are looking for those up and comers that, like when you see Gretchen at a bar in Printer's Alley hit the mic after working a double and just burn the oxygen out of the room with that voice that she had. Me and Kenny are like, this girl has to be heard. We don't have the authority to sign her, but we know people who do. And so we've always been those guys because it's been done for us. And we get a lot of satisfaction out of just knowing somebody great finally got up into the spotlight. That's so hard to do. And if we can help people, just give them one little tweak that might be a piece of what gets them into the spotlight where they belong.
Yeah.
You get a lot of satisfaction out of that.
Yeah. And that's where they're supposed to be.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
We only have a little bit of time left, but let's talk a little bit about like what kind of advice for anybody out there listening. What advice would you give them if they're wanting to do this for a living with everything that is out there now, with the way that labels are in the music industry and the social media and all of that? What would the advice be?
Yeah, number one, stay alive.
That's good advice.
Stay alive. There's a lot of folks that we know of along the way. One of our drummers comes to mind real well, but surround yourself with some positive people, man. A lot of folks in the music industry do get themselves off the path sometimes. Anything from too much drinking to too much anything can get you, going the wrong way. And surround yourself with some people that'll be honest with you, and keep you working positively every day. Don't let all the negatives of the world or your life or whatever, pull you astray. And that's such a meaningful thing, because you got to stay alive to do it. Yeah. And then, continue to do that with all that positivity you've got around you. Just create, be inspired by the life that you live, and just work hard every day. One of the things that inspired me most about John when we first met, beside the fact that he knew every Vacation Bible School song that I knew, was his work ethic. He wanted to get up and go at it every day, with the vengeance of a farmer. Just like you got to get up and feed your animals in the morning, and you got to do it again in the evening, and then you got to finish up everything you got to do at night. He went at it with an amazing work ethic. Yeah. I think it's still that work ethic to this day that sees the ones who have the greatness get through. You still have to put one foot in front of the other. You still have to go at it, with that passion and desire every day. And then I think you continue to do that. And then if you show yourselves to the fans, to the people that are out there, just show yourself to the world, whether it be your friends and family, to, being able to get into a room like this, to being able to get on the biggest stages as ultimately became available to us, then the fans will let you know if it's great, and they'll respond to you. They'll encourage you. They'll fill you up with that energy to keep going and to continue to move forward. But you just got to keep continuing to put one foot in front of the other. No matter what knocks you down, you just got to get back up and put one foot in front of the other and just keep doing it. And if it's meant to happen, it will, by God.
I will add to what he's saying. So if country radio was made up of the greatest singers, you would have a completely different crew of people on the radio. Mm. Hard work will always beat the mega talent people. I have met a lot of just ridiculous, brutal vocalists. I'm talking alien level talent singers that never amounted to anything as far as commercial success or anything like that because they lacked the focus and the work ethic that it takes. And then I know a lot of singers who are good. They're not aliens, but they're good, strong, straight-ahead singers. But they were relentless, and they did everything they had to do to keep coming. And they are some of the biggest singers out there. They're the ones, some of them packing out stadiums every single weekend. That's the first thing to add to what he said. The second thing is country music is not a hobby. And if it is a hobby for you, quit.
Yeah.
Because there is a whole crop now of artists that I've run into out there who have not studied the peoples whose shoulders they stand upon. I was hanging out with some mega songwriters the other day. I'm talking Hall of Fame level guys. Some of them are actually in the Hall of Fame. And they were doing a demo session in a building that had pictures of them on the walls. And some young guys came out from working in their studio, walked in there, sitting with the older guys in the break room, and they looked at the older guys and said, "So what do you guys do?" They didn't recognize them. They go, "Oh, we're songwriters," and they're looking at these kids like, wow. we're songwriters. They go, "You ever written anything I would have heard of?" And it was unbelievable. The same thing goes with the old school country. I have challenged new artists before that I've met. I said, "Man, you're a great singer. I'm going to give you a challenge." I'll hand them a guitar. I say, "Play me 3 songs that were hits before you were born. Just 3." And most of them can't do it. And what they're missing by not doing that is they are not understanding what's truly great. A mistake that new artists make is they compare themselves to who is currently out. They say, "I am really good compared to who I'm up against right now." And that may be true. You may actually be the best of who you're up against right now, who you're competing with. But are you the best compared to the greatest of all time?
Yeah.
Are you the best compared to Johnny Cash? Are you the best compared to Bobby Braddock? Are you the best compared to Jeffrey Steele? Are you the best compared to Craig Wiseman?
Yeah.
And you could keep going down the list. And the answer will always be, no, I'm not. I am not at that level. So if you truly want to be great, you want to have a 30, 40-year existence in music where decades down the road, people are still singing the songs you wrote back when you were a kid, you better understand where the bar is actually set. The bar is not set with what is currently out. The bar has been set throughout history. Every now and then, a new one will show up, and they'll set a new bar. Every now and then. But it's rare. And so I always urge artists, do your homework, go back and listen to the old stuff, study it, break it down, make your hands learn how to play that, read their lyrics, look how their rhymes were working, look how they twisted a hook, look how Merle Haggard came in around the backside and sucker punched you with a hook. Go understand how all that works, because that's whose shoulders you're standing upon.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
The crazy
Love
thing
that.
right now is when you say songs written before you were born. Is songs like Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Would be a song
were
before they were
written
born.
before
Yeah.
Some
Some
of
of
the hit artists that are out there right now
Yeah, that's
were
true.
born.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy
so
to think
that
about.
Fits,
Yeah.
That fits that criteria,
So they'd
right?
be ripping, they'd be pulling some early Garth and some 90s country, stuff like that. If you can do that, it doesn't have to be before I was born, before you were born. Go back and know where you're at.
Yeah.
Doesn't that bother you a little bit?
It does. Yeah. I mean, it was, I was trying to remember as you were saying that. I can't remember who I was talking to, but this was just recently. I was talking about like Colin Ray and just, stuff like that. Like, and literally this person I was talking to was like, "Who's that?"
Yeah. Shenandoah.
Yeah.
Marty Rabin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the best singers that ever put his mouth up to a microphone.
Yeah. Just.
Natalie Wood gave her heart to James Dean. Write me a song like that.
Yeah.
I'd be better off on a pine
I want to
box on a
see
slow train
songwriting.
down
I want to
the
see
road.
songwriting in this town, because songwriters drive the whole thing. I want to see those songwriters. Yes, the hit songs these days are basically an equation, a lot of them, that you snap them together and rinse and repeat. But I look forward to country music in the songwriter side and the artist side. That's why I like Mary Cutter. Nobody's writing like that. Go back in, and just because it sounds like a hit does not mean it's great. Dig down deeper and deeper. Give me some stuff. Put pictures in my head. I want to smell it, taste it, feel it, be in the room with that song as it's happening. And the only way you're going to learn how to do that as a songwriter is to go listen to those levels of songs and then do your own version of that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Great advice.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
Amen.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Love
Ta,
it.
ta, ta.
Okay, you sang. Can we pick up guitars?
We can.
Let's if you guys don't mind.
It's early in the morning.
Let's if you can do let's just do a
Raise
quick
your hand if you've
verse
had a
chorus.
cocktail. Right now. What do you want?
What do you want?
do you want, man? What do you want from us?
One of those songs that we talked about. Just one of those few. I don't know, man. Just
8th of November.
whatever you guys want to play. 8th of November. Whatever. Whatever you
Are
guys.
we tuned?
I don't. This is tuned.
Fairly close. What's that? Oh.
8th of November. Said goodbye to his mama as he left South Dakota to fight for the red, white, and blue. He was 19 and green with a new M16, just doing what he had to do. He was dropped in the jungle where the choppers would rumble with the smell of napalm in the air. And then the sergeant said, look up ahead. Like a dark evil cloud, 1,200 came down on him and 29 more. They fought for their lives, but most of them died in the 173rd Airborne. On the 8th of November, the angels were crying as they carried his brothers away. With the fire raining down and the hell all around, there were few men left standing that day. Saw the eagle fly through a clear blue sky. 1965 on the 8th of November.
Come on. So good, man. I gotta know. I didn't ask. So Niles says, "Hey, you guys should write a song about this." What was his response the first time he heard it?
Cried.
Yeah.
I remember a big old tear, and just went, like it just stopped him in his tracks. And at that point, we weren't thinking this is going to be a big hit.
Yeah.
We just wrote it for him.
Yeah.
It was like a gift to our friend, the bartender, Vietnam veteran guy.
Yeah.
And then
what that song has done in the 25 years plus since is it's changed so many lives, been a positive in so many lives you just can't imagine. I mean, all those guys that were part of the 173rd there then, I mean, it meant so much to them. Soldiers, military guys that
active duty,
just run active
young
duty
guys,
right now that we've run up on. I mean, who was serving in Iraq, serving in Afghanistan. It was their theme song there. I mean, it just gave them so much courage. It's just amazing how many lives saved dudes' lives. I've had guys come up to me. I'll never forget. I was out with my kids one time and ran into this dude while I was ziplining, and my kid somehow in conversation with him, he came to the realization that he was there with this guy that wrote this song. He said, "It saved my life. I was getting ready to kill myself when I heard that song."
Man.
So I mean, it's just amazing what has happened because of that song.
Yeah.
That's why you take more time when you write, guys.
Gals.
A blank sheet of paper and a pencil, two most powerful things God ever created. The Constitution of the United States started off as blank paper before some inspired individual began to write on it. The pages of the Bible, same thing. The pages of a song, they are so powerful. They can change your life. They can change other people's lives. And most of them will never be heard, but it's that 1 out of 500 that you're looking to get that is the absolute bell ringer, and you never know which one that one's going to be. But it can only be as great as you're willing to dig. Just because it rhymes doesn't mean it's done.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then there's songs, talking about how songs can make things happen. This one started an increase in the birth rate revolution. The people come
baby
to shows. They come to shows.
The second American baby boom.
The second American great baby boom. They'd hear this song and they'd go home, and Lord knows the happy things that happened afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a love song.
It's a love song.
It goes like this. Walk
into the room, passing out $100 bills, and it kills and it thrills like a horns on my Silverado grill. And I'm by the bar and chip around the crown, and everybody's getting down in this town. It ain't never gonna be the same, 'cause I saddle up my horse and I ride into the city. I make a lot of noise 'cause the girls, they are so pretty. Keep riding up and down Broadway on my old stud Leroy, and the girls say, save a horse, ride a cowboy. Everybody say, save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Y'all go home and have a good time now. Thanks, we're big and rich.
I
love you
it.
big time.
Man, that was one of the coolest moments being on stage with you guys on that boat too. On getting up there and just jamming on that last
People
song.
still just bang their heads to that song.
Yeah,
It's
it was
crazy.
so fun.
It's
So
huge. Thank you.
I appreciate you
Thanks for
guys
having us,
so
man.
much. It's been a blast, and I know you gotta run, but man, yeah, just can't thank you enough.
It was fun walking down memory lane with you.
Yeah.
How cool.
And all the artists and songwriters that may see this, you guys go get them. We got your back. We know where you're at, what you're going through, man. But
and all the best to each and every one of you,
it.
man. You can do it. It can happen. You
Yeah.
can see for a couple of guys like us. Wow. You know,
go have fun.
Have fun.
a good time, okay?
One foot in front of the other. Swing
Get
for
with
the
other
fences.
people that also like to have a good time, because if you're having a good time, man, it'll show up right on the
Good things
page
will
when you
come.
write that song.
Yes, it sure will.
Yep.
Love
Thanks,
you
man.
guys. Everybody out there listening, thank you so much. My name is Chris Blair. You've been listening to another episode of Stories Behind the Songs with the amazing and super talented Big and Rich. We will put everything in the liner notes to go find all of their music and follow them and all of the things. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to another episode of Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. Make sure to give us a follow on Spotify if you enjoyed this episode, and make sure you click that notification button so you can keep notified when new episodes come out. We release brand new episodes every Tuesday, and you can find us on YouTube at Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to send us a comment letting us know what you thought of the episodes. We love getting your feedback, and share this with your friends. The more we grow, the more that we can keep doing this. It's our mission to bring you all of these great stories behind the songs from some of Nashville's most iconic artists and songwriters, publishers, producers, everyone in between, and a lot of my great friends. We love what we do, and we love sharing their stories with you. We appreciate all of the continued support. Thanks also to all of our sponsors, and we will see you all next week.